Okay, hi Niall. It's Brian here doing my screencast for CA1. I'm going to jump straight into it and try and keep it quick because I'm expecting my house to get very noisy quickly as my housemates arrive back home. So this is the image I chose to try and recreate, and the reason I chose it was because you used it as an example and I never got a chance to actually talk to you and see what else I could do, so I thought there'd be no debates about whether this would be a good example or not, since you used it yourself. Okay, so looking at this, I have my own scene here. I think I've done a pretty good job of recreating that. I have these lights and stuff over here, all these plants, gates, different facings on the houses. One thing is as well, this side of the street is a bit brighter than this side. I just think I've captured that pretty well. Okay, so we'll go and have a quick look around first of all. I've just used the free-flying first-person camera instead of actually putting in a character. I should have probably put in a character, but I didn't from the start, and then I didn't find a way of going back to that afterwards. So first thing here, we have different types of lights. These two are just point lights, and there's also another point light like just here that's shining on the ground to create that sort of filling effect. See, on this gate here right in front of us, we have a demonstration of the opacity masks. I can go and look at that material in the next few minutes. One thing I wanted to bring up was on the brief, which I have here, we have a couple of requirements that I'm not 100% sure about. See this distant depending normal mapping? I think Unreal does that itself, and I can actually show that here in a second. And the other thing is the MIP mapping that was mentioned. It's mentioned somewhere anyway, but it's also included in Unreal by default, and I can kind of show that off a little bit. So if we're looking at this here gate, as I move away, you can see that the bar is nearly disappearing as it switches to a simpler texture. Okay, just another few things I added in, all the street props. These like window shutters are actually a little bit out of place, I think. I think one of them there is just a bit out of place. I'll fix that before I submit. I've added in them. I've added in like gutters and stuff. I also went a bit mad on these particle systems throughout the level. One thing, at the very start of the project, I removed the sky sphere, because in my picture there isn't really any sort of stars or skies or anything or clouds. But I really should have kept that, because I could have just rotated the direction of light around and updated the sky sphere instead. It would have been a better effect, but I managed to pull it back a bit and create this kind of sunset on the lake over there, which worked out quite nicely to give that kind of late evening feel and this kind of orangey glow across everything. Pretty happy with that. Okay, let's see, the next thing we can talk about. In here I have a car. This is like one of the 3ds Max sample models, and I ran it through a function in 3ds Max called multi-res, and that just cuts the number of polys by whatever percentage I wanted it. So I knocked it down by, okay, sorry. So this is the level of detail demonstration here. You can see as I get close to the car, it pops into full detail, and as I move away, it's only 30% of the detail that's there before. So I cut from 11,000 polys down to just over 3,000 polys, which is pretty handy because it's not even it's not even hugely noticeable. Only I know where I'm looking for. If you look kind of at the front bumper, you can see it kind of the UV circle a bit weird on it there because I never fixed that. And that's why we have as well up here, like, needs to be rebuilt 6 objects, because there's a few random models around the place that I didn't make myself. So because I didn't make them, I didn't bother setting their UVs correctly. I could just remove them and make my own stuff whenever I wanted to go any further with this. So just in there, quick look, you can see that popping into much higher detail there. And it's probably a bit easier to see from the back as well, actually. Yeah. Okay. So next thing, I've created, a lot of particle effects around the place. Go over here. I have a demonstration of the decals that I used. Was just putting these little signs on the entryway. I would have liked to use more, but I noticed that the more decals I put on the level, the more they started to become transparent for some reason. And I went to look it up. It seems like it's a bug in Unreal at the moment, so as soon as that's fixed, I'll be able to put decals all over the place. But for now, I just have a little demonstration showing that I know how to do that. Something else we can look at over this way, we have the vertex painting. So on this wall here, I've painted some of the moss up the wall. It's probably not the best example, but again, it just shows that I can do that. What happened is that the wall is doesn't have a lot of vertexes, so whenever I painted something onto it, it stretched out a good bit. But again, yeah, just a demonstration showing that it's done. Over here we have a light function set on a timer, so that's giving us that flicker there, which I'll go and look at again in the material editor. I also added another little particle effect, so it's sparking a lot, so you're gonna get the idea that the light is like short-circuiting or something, giving that a nice little effect. And then up here, I just put a big fire on the house, and I just done that because it looked cool, and it could. I don't really know what else is here. We got some water. I know that was mentioned on the brief as well. I've also got a lot more water over here. See, it's kind of like this lake in the distance. The sun's coming over. It doesn't look exactly like it's enclosed, but as you go down low, as if a player was playing, there's not really any. You can't see out to the horizon. I think that's everything to show here in this live demonstration. So jump back out and look at a few of these functions that I've mentioned. Right, so content. One thing I'm not sure about actually is I've included the kite demo assets, and I used some of them for foliage and a couple of little textures around the place. I'm not sure if I should delete everything that I haven't used. I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem, but hopefully not. Anyway, I have a my content folder that shows all the stuff that I made. So we just have props here. These are all the models that I've made or imported from elsewhere, but most of them I made myself. I have a list of references, the stuff that I haven't made. Materials is where it's happening. So let's have a look at this decal material very quickly. It's pretty simple. So we just have our texture coordinates plugging into everything to make sure everything's all in the right way around. This is our base color texture here, and this one here is what I used for the opacity mask. So all around the edge of it is blacks, and then the whites and the greys are going to stay in. So all the black gets removed and the whites will stay. They get set to be opaque. So just have a little roughness plug-in and then a normal that I generated most of my normals using Crazy Bump. So I think I should add that little bit of credit in there. Let's see, we got the light function here. Really simple light function. So you just have time plugging into a multiplier. Okay, so I multiplied time by 1. Okay, and then that just goes into a sine, and then so that gives it this kind of, you know, waving in and out. And then I done a frac on that to make it a little bit more flickery. So that just takes the fractional value, like, or after the decimal point, if you will. And that just plugs into emissive color. And the way you do that actually is by just setting the material domain to be light function, and then that can be applied to a light. Like, for example, if I click on one of these lights in the details panel, there's a light function here, so you just apply the material there, and it'll do what you want. Let's see, we just have a few textures here that I set up for these, you know, these gates. Say I just plug them all into their respective values. So we have, you know, classic texture coordinates, texture, normal, opacity map, and then a bit of roughness as well. Okay. Oh yeah, another thing is how I done the terrain, which is quite nice. Let's see, I think I just left it as new material so far. Yeah, but setting this up as a, let's see, we have as a surface allowed me to use these layer blends, and then it can be used to paint different materials onto the terrain once you've got a terrain set up. So I followed the tutorial for this. There's no point in me trying to explain it perfectly. I'm not 100% sure, but you set up this layer blend, and they have different height or weight values. So then you plug them into the correct ones to match up. And then I don't know if this layer blend does like a lerp itself, but maybe it could be improved with a lerp. The tutorial that I followed was fairly simple. But so we go back out and click on the terrain. And go to paint. Right, so then we get these options here. So I can just click on one of these and then paint grass in if I wanted, or click on moss and paint moss in. I have snow set up there, but I haven't actually implemented it yet. I was going to add like a bit of snow on top of the mountain, but it didn't make sense that there was a big fire there as well, so I left it out because it wasn't really too important. Let's have a look at this brief here. So I've done decal mapping. This multiple diffuse normal maps by UV value. I'm not sure if I have that one done. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there. Bird text painting I've covered. Oh, I didn't do any normal painting. I used Crazy Bump, like I said. So I didn't do it in Photoshop myself. Parallax mapping, I didn't get around to that. Material instances, so I'll show you a few of the material instances that I used. So like, say this is a base that I started on, simple plastic, which is just the color of this car over here, and from that I was able to make, you know, this black like more rough plastic. So simply just change the color and change the roughness. I used that and use that on these lights over here, little spotlights. They're pretty black. I made another instance which is pretty much the same color, a little bit darker, and then I put the roughness up to create these like ceramic clay sort of color for these pots for all those plants about there. Let's see, I think I have covered everything that I've done. Level of detail covered. I didn't do this. I don't have everything in Unreal, really. Particle effects. So you can see that I've more than probably overdone it with particle effects. Might even be taking away from what I've done. But I liked it, so that's why I did it.